this is Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It's such a pleasure to spend our time with you. Can you let us know if the microphone and audio is being heard by a thumbs up? And then we'll continue.
Beautiful family. Welcome, everyone.
So, just make sure we got someone commenting. Can you hear us? Sending love to each and every one of you. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Pleasure. Right. So today we are here with you. If you have any questions or topics you would like us to speak on, we can see there's already a few. You can give us some direction to help you on your wonderful journey to find freedom, health, happiness, and anything other in this wonderful experience we shared together. Thank you. So what we're going to do is quickly just go to this first question that we had, in case Hardest has to go. And it was, guys, do you guys take any supplements when working out at the gym? And there's another question after that. So when we work out, I think through the knowledge that we've acquired over the years, the most important thing we can do is have a consistency with our food. And around times of working out, having a significant or a suffice amount of nutrition at these certain periods allows you to take on board everything that you need to increase your muscle growth or improve your training routine. Naturally, we feel like it's the best approach, but there are a few things that can give you an edge if you're looking, to take an edge. One of them is creatine monohydrate. This has had a lot of research recently, and if you study the new research, it's apparently beneficial for people of all ages, from children to aging. It helps in neurological function. It aids in muscle density and thus promoting stronger, denser physique, bones, and longevity. The research is out there for you to find. So that is a supplement that we would say is not on the negative end of the spectrum. It does have some benefits. It does increase strength, size, etc. And it could be an arsenal for your training regime. And of course, the amino acids. People supplement amino acids. The best one for your body is the essential amino acids, or called the ECAs. And we like to use or utilize food for this. The industry has promoted protein for such a long period of time, predominantly from whey, and whey protein used to be skimmed off the milk and thrown away due to its toxic nature, but it's found its way into the commercial world in not so recent years, probably for the past 60, 70 years. And what we've recognized, and through our extensive studying, research, and application, is that proteins actually are formed from amino acids, and they're a chain. And essentially, when you take on board any type of protein, you have to break these amino acids down to then recode and synthesize within the body. Our bodies make protein, and this is from glucose, or your primary source of fuel, and amino acids. They synthesize to create this protein, which is essentially a string or a sequence of amino acids. So this is another supplement that could be beneficial to you if you feel like you haven't got the ability to eat every 2 hours, such as I do. And Michelle's quite close around there, but the portion sizes are very different.
I just have to watch Josh eat a lot of food. But I will say, when you are looking into any supplements, then just make sure that they're not flavored or anything like that, because the plain supplements will come with, like Josh was just speaking about, the EAAs, the essential amino acids. If you take on like a flavor of chocolate or cherry or
bubblegum,
whatever they mix with it, it will have added toxic chemicals in with the mix. So just make sure it's clean and pure.
Yes.
Also, I wanted to touch on, a lot of beings have in the fitness industry pre-workout Now I know that Josh has orange juice or grape juice just for a bit more extra glucose. I personally don't have that in training, but if I need an extra boost, I will partake in an orange juice or a grape juice just for the extra sugars, because all it is, what they're putting in the energy drinks is a boost of caffeine and sugar together, which is a combination that raises the heart rate. So they call it like a pre-workout. But
Once you
orange
start,
juice,
you're on a bad journey, really,
Yeah.
because you'll never find training the same. You'll always rely on these
it's
supplements
kind
to
of
bring
like
you
that
on.
up and down process that we spoke of the other week of not keeping that body in a balanced state. It's like peaking the or spiking the adrenaline, and then you have a crash, and then you get that caffeine fix again, and it'll spike you. So we want to keep it on that level of balance. So having a pre-workout of orange juice with you in the gym, just in a bottle, or grape juice, and that will really help as well. So that's what you do often, isn't it?
Yeah, and I find, if someone is on pre-workouts, like I just said, there's a blend, predominantly, like Misha said, caffeine, you got nanogene, things like this. But if you see the proprietary blend inside of them, a lot of the times people have actually taken off the shelf and done some testing on these products. They found amphetamine and things like this inside of them. So they do contain some sort of alternative stimulants in a lot of them. They have been taken off the shelves, but they do keep reappearing. It's the same with pro-hormones, and I think the new form of steroid-free steroids are called SARMs, selective androgen receptor modulators, and they don't have really any efficacy or research efficacy, should I say. And essentially it's the same as a steroid, but there's a slight molecular change. And of course, steroids were created to be kind of bioidentical in most of the cases. So I think as these futures progress, people will find these actually have a more negative impact than any type of anabolic steroid would as well. So just be careful if you're actually looking to gain some size, which leads us to the real factor of your body's ability to change shape and create what you wish is consistency. And there is nothing greater than consistency and progressively overloading, increasing intensity within your workouts over time.
What I wanted to add to consistency there is patience. I know we keep touching on the virtues every time, but they're super good for keys for your evolution, because we feel that, nothing that comes overnight will be worth having. So it's about that consistency, that journey to the goal that's going to give you that experience of, building the body or building the mind. So it's about those small steps towards your ultimate goal. And then when you get to that goal of what you wanted to achieve, something else will be there for you to achieve again. So it's a constant cycle of journeying through that. And if you have that presence where you're feeling that gratitude for everything that is, it's like the incredible realization that, this is the true magic of that present moment, is that the journey is actually our ultimate goal, because it's our experience that's really, really crucial for us to realize for our evolution.
And as with anything, there's this syncretic aspect of all things. And you have this connection to the muscle tissue, to the movement, to understanding certain angles create certain tension under specific muscles. So you do build a relationship with the body over time, and that is earned. This is not something which is given to you instantly.
It's called that muscle-mind connection as well. So there's like lifting weights or doing a workout of any sort. But having that, even like with the yoga and the Pilates, having that connection to the muscle that you're actually working or building, whatever you're doing on your training or anything in life, is that having that intent and that, that true essence and that core connection between the muscle and the mind, is that you're actually working that muscle correctly. Anyone can stand there and lift weights and throw them about a little bit. But having that connection is super important for growth in any area.
And you'll see them, in the gym, etc. Those that, turn up and they're there because they feel they need to do so, but they're not really changing shape, or their body's not really changing. And the weight's just being lifted because they feel like that's what they have to do. And then, of course, training properly and very consistent with eating extremely consistent, and obviously specific foods for your specific goal is relative and so important. So again, we have a great expertise in this. So if any of you wish to have anything created for you specifically, we do have a course online, but we can do one-on-ones, private consultations, or we can aid in your personal evolution and growth in fitness also.
I wanted to touch a little bit on the yoga aspect as well, and the kind of meditation area, because we feel like as we gain more awareness or more spiritual awareness of our bodies, we tend to go on a journey of practice with yoga and union, and this is a super amazing journey. However, if we get caught up in the aspect of the mind controlling this, as in, we are now spiritual, we must do our practice of yoga every rising and every evening, it then becomes a control aspect of the being. So we're no longer having that experience of joy with it. It becomes a
effort.
Yeah, and a practice that has to happen. Otherwise, the mind will say, you didn't do your rising yoga today, therefore we're going to have a bad day. So it's really, important for us to observe that. Is it controlling us, or are we in control that this is actually something for us?
To enjoy it. We enjoy the experience that we're having? And if you don't find joy, there's no will there. So the will to do something needs to be there for essentially your spiritual evolution and growth, because we have to flow in accordance with our will. It's a very important aspect of our own growth. So for me, one of my early stages was I had a will for truth, and albeit one aspect of truth, worldly truth, physical truth, it led me on a very intense journey of research, and then applying the research and creating this wonderful syncretic mind that really could not be lied to and could see through all the deception, which was a wonderful aspect of the journey, but it didn't bring peace and happiness. It just answered questions that my will was seeking. And we'll go to the second question now. So Hardus, I hope that was helpful. And second question from your brother was, what do you guys use to prevent pregnancy? Do you guys have a natural way of doing it? Me and my wife is a young married couple, and we would love to learn from you. So I think one of the most important things, unless you want to go first, is understanding the cycle of your partner. Because there's only a short window through the month that this can really take place, when your wife is ovulating. And I think just staying or abstaining from intercourse during those days is going to be most beneficial. Secondary to that question, Denise, Jeffrey, was, I guess Josh and Misha would recommend that you practice semen retention. And for us, this is kind of another concept that's been implanted into the spiritual seeking world because of the Christ chrism oil. And if we abstain from ejaculation and we partake or practice in semen retention, this aids in the seminal fluid rising up the spine, creating this Kundalini energy experience. But this really isn't the case. Your Kundalini energy is non-free flowing and blocked by personal identity and illusion. And this is where the great work comes into play. The virtue system is one way to create peace and balance in perception, and having the ability to consciously reprogram the subconscious through consciously aligning yourself through contemplation and recognition of what the mind is actually doing. So having the ability to observe the mind and its mentalization, distant from actually identifying with it and then creating emotion, you use the power of contemplation. You're able to shift and shape your inner perception, and this way you bring a wonderful alignment and a positivity towards the world. Thus, you're not blocked by any negativity or negative energy. So we don't have the concept of semen retention for spirituality purposes, because this is another box or an idea that puts you into a space where you have to do something to become spiritual. You have to do something to become that which you already are.
There's a lot of judgment around these kind of concepts, and we feel that, the will of everyone is the divine rite of passage, basically, because if you take someone that's really into semen retention or any concept of whatever we're speaking of, it's like they hold that at the highest. Therefore, anything that is subject to that is not in alignment with them. It takes them off balance. So if a being is practicing love making with their partners, and one being is not in alignment with that, they have a judgment on that, therefore is causing suffering and resistance within the being. And this is where we get the energy centers taken off balance again, because there's something that you hold so high and then you're resisting against it, and it's not free flowing. If your will is to not have a partner in that way, and there's no resistance there and there's no judgment on any other being, then that's absolutely in alignment with what your being is telling you to do. However, if there are questions around it and there's judgment around it, it's not a balanced way to live. And if you're feeling like you're heading towards that and you want to abstain for a while just to see how it feels, then that is the path of that is amazing. So we need to remember that we need to not have resistance there. So if you're interested in it, try it and see if it's right for you, and know your truth. Don't go with what any other being is saying because it's spiritual.
But also, why do you want to practice it? Have you come across the concept of it? Or did you not come across concept and it was just an idea from your inner tutor? These things here are something to sit with and contemplate on, because what do you feel like this life is for? Essentially it's an evolving or evolution of experience. And all of this has come from nothing, this consciousness. And in the void of darkness, which all life, we could say phenomenal reality or lucidity, came from this great dreamer, that the desire or the will, we could say, was to experience. So this life is to experience.
Abstinence is always a great thing, because you then can come back to it and have gratitude for it. Abstinence has been practiced for many, many years with regards to food, semen retention,
Hopefully thinking next as well, because this is the true abstinence.
We did it with the gym for quite some time, didn't we? We were very much into exercise and building the body and keeping the body fit. We had many years off, and we feel like it served its purpose at the time, because we may have needed that at the time.
We just shifted from that lifestyle into the garden, into Spain, planting, eating, and obviously we didn't have a will for the gym at that particular time. So really it was in accordance with our will. And then we held no judgment to that experience, and it was what it was. And at the moment we are back in alignment with physical exercise, which of course is great, and it's one of the most important things for longevity, healing, and physical health, along with your diet and of course balancing the mental aspect of the psyche. I think psychology, or understanding your own mental aspect, is by far the most important thing that we can do. And this is the great saying, go inward to find yourself, or spirituality.
If if one's quite clouded with chemical build-up in the body and emotional trauma, this is pretty difficult to do initially.
It's acidity, isn't it?
However, when you clean up the food and move to whole foods, a lot of those toxins release. You have a period of like releasing that, and then once you can think clearer and see clearer, then you shift into another aspect of your world,
and then it becomes
and then it becomes a lot more comfortable. So it takes that, like we were saying about consistency and patience. If that's where you're heading, it does take a little bit of time, but once you're there, it truly is a blessing. So
mastery of every single element is the philosopher's goal, and essentially the journey that I embarked on at a very young age. And I wish it for everyone, but you must have that will. You must have that will.
Going back to the original question with pregnancy, that the cycles that you can understand for the woman is the most easy way to naturally help with that, and just abstain for that period of time with ovulation, and then just check the cycles each month.
Sarah Cobner, can you speak about reprogramming the subconscious mind and changing limiting beliefs? The limit or limitations you hear is imitations, and this is the copying or the program self, the persona. So first of all, we need to be able to recognize the persona or the mentalization, what we spoke of earlier, and see that repeating judgment or cycle. This is where all sins arise from. Impatience, as we speak of a lot, is just mentalization and a desire to change that which is. So when you can sit back and recognize, for example, this very simple example that we share, is that you're in a queue in a shop and you're late for work, and the mentalization starts to happen. The mind starts to be very verbal, and you're there suffering within yourself. I need to go to work. I'm going to be late. I'm going to get in trouble, and then this just continues to cycle. At the moment this happens, you have to come to a level of understanding within yourself and recognize, and this is recognize. The cognitive function is realigning the way the mind is seeing. This is the subconscious mind. And you have to say that there's no way that I can change the situation, or can I change the situation? There's two things that you can do. You can just leave what you're in the shop for and go, or you can wait, and that's the two choices. So if you choose to wait here, then you have to come to this level of acceptance with this thought form, this demon, and then you say, I can't change this. What will be will be. Whatever happens along the way happens, and there's no way that I can change this. This way you lose the resistance or the desire to change that which is, or the isness, and then you surrender this dialogue, this mentalization or the mind. And this is what would happen one by one by removing these entities that cause suffering or limitations. So this is a process that can happen with every single demon, we could say, every single thought form that arises and causes your levels of suffering. And you do this through intense contemplation. There is no meditation out there that will bring you freedom for good. Simply meditation truly is a state. It's ni, di, at ion. Ion is the energy. Di is the balance. D is the letter 4, which is form, and I is number 9, which is consciousness. So it's form and consciousness balancing together. But if we also look into science, this di state is essentially the closest that a positive and negative can get before they reach light. So there's a relationship with the physical world and the metaphysical world. And we can see this through language, numerology, etymology, etc.
When we're open like truly open, and we're walking and speaking our truth, this is when the magic happens. So the limit and the capped abilities are always put into place from the past programs or the future anxieties that we experience. So being open and receptive to all that comes our way, and knowing that it's actually teaching us for the better, is where we can truly learn and grow from. Because if we're letting the limitations hold us back of the programming, we're not at that balanced state. We're still coming from mind, or coming from a set program that we've had in the past, or an anxiety that we're feeling about the future. So we need to bring ourselves to that present state. And even if you're constantly, trying to bring yourself back each time, it's like, once you've practiced that, and like Josh was saying in contemplation, once you've put that into a practice, this becomes an automatic part of your behavior, like a subconscious, unconscious behavior, where the conscious mind doesn't have to take over still. So initially it would be about a conscious aspect of knowing that this is happening. And then after a practice, after a bit of time, consistency and patience, this practice will become that automatic openness that you will feel. And it'll feel like, those demons that Josh was just speaking of, they will just lift. And it feels like, again, the weight of the world is lifted from your shoulders once you can receive that energy back to you. So the limitations only come from mind.
Copying. The mind is only able to perceive what it has received unless you're able to consciously overcome this. Which is one of the most important things that we can do, is to be very present and conscious. And that way we experience life as it is, rather than filtered through perception of persona. There was a good question here from Quake 3. Josh, you are starting to look like Steven Seagal. Hopefully when he was younger. How much more do you plan to gain? In the beautiful Hindu philosophy, we read that our biggest attachment is to the body. Are you not getting more attached to the body? I know that it's no way natural for us to look huge. Fasting is first principle of medicine. Fast and see strength of the spirit reveal itself. Of course, everything you're speaking of is a process, and rings true to people that really haven't done the great work, because even that, what you speak of there, is also a concept that can create limitations and boxes. So for instance, this is a result of the training that I do. Then I would have to not do the training which I enjoy as a physical expression, and then limit myself to the box that I need to be of a certain size and do certain practices to be of that which is spiritual. Now, the spirit is beyond the body, and all of these concepts live in the realm of physicality. And I'm very well aware of my true nature, which is emptiness, silence, and stillness. That is essentially found through the great work which I have embarked on for decades now. So as a part of the growth, actually returning to this creates an evolution rather than a limitation. But on one aspect, you can be right. If I was there doing it specifically to look a certain way, and that was an attachment and an obsession, then I would be losing my presence and my well-being to a physical practice. So everything here is about balance. And one of the things that we have to recognize once we've broken the boundaries is that everything is okay, as long as it doesn't cause a resistance within the self. There's no friction, there's no must, there's no desire. The muscles are of a consequence of previous training, muscle memory, and of course the practices that I'm doing right now. So I hope that points you to the light that I am sitting within, and also the darkness that
I
is
feel
devoid.
with regards to concepts that are copied, as well, there are many beings that are speaking of, ways that other beings practice something to make them this or that, and not actually doing that themselves to the highest level that they could be. So it's like you're kind of half into that practice and half out of that practice. So it's again creating that balance that we were speaking of. If you're following or copying or limiting yourself to that belief, you're never going to know truly your own truth. It's a copy of someone else's that they've told you is great for them. Now you have to walk your truth and be aware that things can trap you and things can limit you if your belief is holding you to that.
Information is a limitation within itself. Information was created from the great consciousness, but we can get lost in it, and it can be used as an aid or a tool for the journey itself. But again, these boxes that can be created through information, we have to be very careful of, that we don't sit so rigid with an attachment to them as a must for a certain result.
Especially when we are judging others as well. I mean, we don't intentionally do it most of the time, but the mind will say, oh, this being is starting to be like this, or this being is doing that, and I don't necessarily agree because my practices are different to theirs. Now, judgment holds you and the other being's energy in like a prison cell. So you are creating this energy around you with judgment.
It's an illusion, and everybody is an expression of the self, and we're lost in persona. We're lost in this practice of body. We are struggling to reconnect with the divinity aspect of ourselves, with this ego mind. And, the question arises within us about others as a mentalization first. That mentalization is a judgment that we ourselves should look at and recognize that this is just the mind with its preconceived beliefs and ideas creating this limitation within me. This is what the mind's for. It's for the evolution. Now you can sit with it and reason, contemplate, and say, I see you, I see what you're doing. You're repeating this cycle of information that I have, put into my unconscious, but this is not who I am, and reject it and just stay silent. And that way we can also gain presence by diverting or placing attention away from mind into this present moment where none of this exists. We become free from illusions, and we are in one with what is and not what isn't. And then we can focus on our own path, our own balance, and our own individual journey. Once we've become, masterful at this craft, the world is truly your oyster to just enjoy experiences. And there's no limit to what experience that you can play with and you can have fun with. And you can pretend to be any personality, any person, have any experience, as long as it doesn't cause you any resistance or friction. That's the beauty of the great work. And then you're open to so many different levels of mastery along the journey with, manifestation, holding it, practicing it, and bringing things to fruition through the understanding of it, and all of this has been laid out in a cryptic way within most religions. And that can also be a fun aspect if you're looking to, uncode and come to a level of reasoning with all of this ancient mystical history that is there for us to find joy within. Again, if it's causing resistance and you're building up a box, you're starting to judge people who are religious, saying they only need to see the truth. They need to see what I see. We fall trapped to the ego again. And the ego likes to dominate. It likes to find knowledge or to seek power. This is the initial aspect of your evolution. To then have more knowledge, to then look down on others, or have a desire to change what others think because you believe that you know better. But this is something that then can be looked at, to be recognized, to be put under the scope of the person, to be contemplated with and let go of. There's so many wonderful things that we have at reach here. And this is just a play. So enjoy everything. Enjoy life.
To this.
It's just a ray of light. Pleasure.
Hey, baby.
What kind of involvement do you suggest the conscious community take in such matters as politics? The USA has some exciting shifts on the horizon, and I feel interested in the promotion of unity. If you have, would you like me to speak first? Oh, yeah. If you have a will and this expression to start integrating within that field, then follow the intuition and see where it leads to, because you'll have so many synchronicities on your path. The only thing I would take a look at myself is see it in my ego / mind or intelligence. If I have a strong desire to change that which is, and if it's something that's mental or the mentalization and causing me a small or intense amount of suffering, then we can truly recognize that there is two sorts of expressions here. There's the expression of the divine, which is this whole of this interwebbed consciousness, all of physical reality, working syncretically in a perfect harmony for individual and the collective consciousness evolution. And we need not truly do anything, because each and every one has this will connected to the divine, but a separate, we could say, individuality, which is individed duality, that then has its own will and expression, which is absolutely perfect to aid in the evolution of the consciousness or the great evolution itself. So limit your suffering towards this. And if the interest's truly there, then just start basic, because I wouldn't like to have any recommendations, to what politics you should really integrate with, because it needs to be from within. All I can say is that there is a wonderful shift happening, and it's for the better for everyone. The world is a stage. It plays out exactly what it needs to play out. Essentially, it's a play on emotions. It's something that we need to balance and recognize exactly what I just spoke of for the balance within. And this whole shift between physical property, physical money, paper trails, etc., being put on a blockchain is, I would say, is the most important thing. And there's a huge transfer of wealth happening right now. There's a few things that you could get in very early with, and it's recognizing the foundation of the developers of this new system, such as Ripple, for example, and the cryptocurrency world like XRP, XLM, and XDC, Quant, and HBAR. These are essentially a system that will be working to create harmony for this shift of physical money and the old SWIFT interledger system for border-to-border or cross-border payments to this whole new system. So I feel like that's something, if somebody wishes to, transform their existence physically with money, there's a great opportunity right now within that world. Every single house, every single deed is going to be put on a blockchain with smart contracts. So this is a big transfer. All of the stock markets, all the derivative markets, there's a wonderful opportunity there. There's effort and time that could be put there to bring great rewards.
So whenever you feel called to a certain experience or journey, then go with it. Go with the heart. Stay open to all possibilities, because it goes back to the kind of tarot teachings as well, where it's the fool's journey. And the fool in the tarot is, very present, has no past, is just on his journey of experience, his or hers. I don't want to, the woman. So yes, it's very individual to what direction your heart is leading you to. And it's all about staying open to possibilities that arise, and the experience that you're going to have with these journeys will, if it's for your evolution, so it's for evolving you in that area. So if you're drawn to that, then go with it, because this is the reason that you're on this journey, is to go with the heart and to, experience these things that you're interested in. And if it is an interest of yours, or it comes up as something that you feel drawn to, then 100% go with it and see where it leads you. And it's exciting.
Only through your experience will you answer your questions and silence that intuitive aspect or mind. So go for it. Let us know. Keep us
the truth.
Keep us in the update of your flow. And we love you very much.
Always a pleasure to hear from you, sister.
I see a follow-up statement from Quick3. Did you guys see any sage, saint, yogi, or self-realized being want to go and lift artificial weight to change the body? They were abiding in the Sahaji Samadhi state. The bliss of the self cannot be compared to the things of the world. Well, this is a wonderful concept. Let's look at Sadhguru. He goes and enjoys riding motorbikes, for example. You see yogis doing yoga or stretching. It is not something that I would ever limit myself to copying others' ideals or practices. So others may not do it, but I do. And there's no limitation to that which I decide to do. So open yourself and realize that concepts create your limitations. And this itself is a concept that creates limitations. Every single moment I can recognize the self. When I choose to, I lie down and I leave the body into a lucid state and experience dreams of any type of magnitude that I wish. I know I am the consciousness that has the lucidity, that creates the dreams, and can enjoy experience in a person or personal identity at will when I choose to do so. So just take a look and continue your evolution, because you will break this boundary and this limitation that you need to be a certain way to find the self. But very few will actually break it. Very few idolize these archetypes or saints or yogis. But you must realize that archetype is that which is without form and found through formlessness, without effort, which is in each and every one of us. But archetypes are not living entities. And believe me, there are saints, sages, and yogis who identify as them who are not. So you must be very careful about who you choose to look up to, worship, or to observe to then copy for the same experience.
And how much of that are you copying? So is half of your time living in the matrix and half of your time practicing this? And then how are you dealing with that push-pull aspect of, I should be doing this practice and I shouldn't be doing this work, or should going to the grocery shop or driving my car? So how much of it is causing you suffering? I know with Josh, when he let go a lot of his concepts, that he had built up that intellectual mind so highly that letting go of a lot of the concepts was so freeing for him, that he had put himself into a state of learning constantly, and then letting go of all that was so freeing for you, wasn't it? That it was again like the weight of the world came off the shoulders, because no longer did that baggage have to be dragged around with him, and it was just so freeing. So sometimes beings carry around this pedestal that other beings are above them because they are practicing something that they hold highly, and yet actually you're already it.
For example, let's say Moji, okay? Now, it's quite clear that Moji has reached the self-realized state, has a deep understanding of consciousness, has a very deep understanding of persona. And when he mentioned to a community that he has chicken curry, for example, this was blasphemy to them. And they almost lost a connection to him because they held an idea that every self-realized being shouldn't be consuming the flesh of another being. Now, there's levels of truth within experience, and truly that truth is that chicken is just an idea that's created within consciousness, as is all form. But when one embarks on a philosopher's journey to seek truth in every aspect and master each element individually, you come to the recognition of what is the best source of food. And it may not be your practice, but again, it affects not the spirit. The spirit is unaffected, but it is the identity of the persona which causes the limitations and the inability to become free and unbound and unchained.
You're already this pure being of light. You just need to let all the baggage go and express that, because expressing your truth is the only way.
You're in alignment with the divine. You let go.
You don't hold on to attachments of others. This is their journey. This is what they decide to do in their will. And, they're expressing that. But for you to then go and copy that, and others, an expectation that others should be on this journey as well, because it's the way that, the belief system is working. It's not true to everyone's will. So they would not be in balance if you drag your family or your friends or the expectation of others to be that way. It's very much unbalanced in the body, and the damage that it causes, the chaos that it causes is difficult to unpick. So freeing the mind of concepts through contemplation
is the only way to liberation and enlightenment. Enlightened mind. And Brother Quake, I presume, or Sister Quake 3, I trust my intuition, and in no way do I either see Sadhguru or Moji as realized beings. Sadhguru has probably reached the lower samadhi, but not the Nivkalpi or Sahaja. And this is fine. It's absolutely fine, but you have to realize the difference between intuition and judgment. And judgment is something mental, and it is something mind and egoic. Intuition is not, and it doesn't make judgments on others. It is a voice that projects your own expression that should be listened to and has an alignment with the divine will. So, I would disagree with you fully on Moji, for example. I think he's far reached deeper states than Sadhguru, but remember, Sadhguru has a goal to reach mainstream.
And the project that he's embarking on at the moment, Sadhguru, is hugely important with the soil, because this is where all of our life stems from. And replenishing soils and being aware of water systems, natural water systems, is a hugely important thing for the masses to be looking at and observing, because this network of beings now that are working as volunteers to help the soil, to help the water, the natural waters of our planet, is a very good experience to have. And only the beings that actually care about this will be interested. So they're doing good things. All beings are here. Even if it's a hard teaching for you, if you feel that it's hard to listen to these beings or see them as anything as high as what you put the other beings on, it's again a judgment that you're holding. And these beings are here for a reason, as we all are, and they're doing good things to help. And the balance that we feel within for any beings is super important for our evolution. And if your practice is to do that, then that's your truth, and that's where you feel at balance. Other beings may not want to embark on that truth that you hold quite highly. So let us know how your journey goes with that, and how much, maybe I'll ask a question for you, is how much of it are you practicing during your day? Are you kind of one foot in the matrix and the other foot in your practice? Or, you know, how much can you dedicate your time to these practices? And is it freeing for you? Because, you know, if you're not surrendering any of these concepts, it causes a little bit of chaos within.
It's just more. That's the opposite of enlightenment. Embargement. You are creating more and more heaviness or weight in the mental aspect of yourself. And it's only found through this psyche, the recognition of that which isn't, and then into that which is. It's like you are looking for what you are looking from, and what you're looking from has no concepts. It's found in a recognition, and you know it's for each and every one to see within themselves. It's not found externally through idolizing anyone. But
and Moji is a cool dude. I agree.
I see brother Chris. I played golf. We had a wonderful one-to-one. I played golf today, Josh. Demon came to me. I left him at the nightfall and played the best I can for the remainder of the game. Thank you for your notice. Good work.
It's so nice hearing the joy coming out of that, because this is the teaching and the great work that you're embarking on, because, you know, you recognize that and you observe that, and then you leave it where it is, and you can make light of it and make, you know, fun and joy out of that. And that's your teachings. And this is where we spoke of before, the automatic approach that will happen if you continue to practice that and leave the demons at the ninth hole. Then we can constantly move on from that, and it just becomes automatic as you practice that and take those baby steps towards your journey and your goal.
Reaching number 9 as well, the letter I, consciousness itself. Is good work, you know. And one of the conversations that we had was, you know, when you're playing sport, for example, and this is kind of like a teaching that Bruce Lee gave, you know, you have to let go of thought, essentially, because if you try to do something, it doesn't happen in the way that you would like it to. We've all screwed up some paper and thrown it in the bin without thought, and it goes in from a distance, and we try to replicate it, and we think, and it misses, and we're trying to show people. You know, for example, if someone is in combat martial arts and they're trying to think how someone is going to strike, they'll see the body move towards a certain angle and then block it and miss the real punch going underneath. But if you remove thought and stay in the effortless flow and just observe, you will see these things take place. This is one of the teachings that Bruce Lee was, you know, trying to express through symbolic ways. So it's very important. So we don't want to think about things. We want to just do that which is, and we will be in the flow and the fluidity of life.
Be like water, isn't it? Be as water.
It is, absolutely. Let's see if we have any more. Hi, folks. We'll have a look for some questions if we have any more. I don't want to miss any. Hi, folks. Is there a book you could recommend on etymology? Thanks for everything. You know, to be honest with you, etymology is one thing, it's scripted, it's interpreted through the mind. And then we have a rigid structure towards words. So we'll find a word like ment, we'll look at mente, Latin, we'll see it's related to mind. So like government means govern mind, etc. Yeah, measurement is, most people would miss this, but I see it through observation. It's me ashore, mind. So measure is me ashore. So you measure something to have a shore mind. There isn't really any sort of etymology out there that I would recommend, because I found this through observation. I could recommend a one-to-one in a consultation with me, and I would be able to pass through so much inner standing in an hour or two that it would give you the best tool to then go and observe language in a way where it would make sense to you. And it would continue a journey and unfold this wonderful understanding of words and numerology at the same time to create this wonderful interwebbed consciousness that really you can recognize the truth and the divinity in all things. So I can recommend that. Other than that, listen to your will and just go on a search and allow the synchronicities to find you. Very, very important. Which one here? Polar camel? Polar camel. How do we traverse upon the Admiralty maritime waters, and how do we overcome idol worship? I mean, the word idol itself is halting, isn't it? We stay in the same place and prevent those around us for falling for idolatry. One thing we should recognize is that we should not have a desire to prevent those around us falling for it, because everyone has to have a will and learn from their experiences. And of course, it's your will to seek and embark on this journey to find out. But having a idea that we must change others will naturally create a repellent energy and a separation between you and others, because you have this dominating aspect of mind that is trying to push this information when it's not for others to be told. It's the same way when people are speaking truth across, huge, vast audiences and putting information into people that causes negative energy, and there's a public outcry or outburst, and those are silenced. There's a reason why they are silenced. And it's not because they're speaking the truth, it's because people aren't ready to hear the truth. And it's very different and has to be perceived on a higher level of awareness rather than a lower level one that people are controlling the world, etc. And the truth isn't coming out when it's available for everyone. And it's about individual evolution and consciousness understanding. So we'll go to how do we traverse upon the maritime waters. This is a very, very large topic. It takes a vast amount of research and understanding to come to the simplicity of it all. And there is this system of maritime admiralty law of the sea, law of the waters, which is essentially commerce, busyness.
The time that you can invest in this, though, will swallow up the present moment. And it's lovely to understand aspects of this to know you're ultimately free, which we all know anyway, but spending lots of time and energy on one subject alone is, it consumes the moments that you can be present for. So the information is all out there, be it a huge subject, as Josh mentioned. And we touched on it years ago, didn't we? And
I spent 6-7 years trying to fully wrap my head around it, because I believed it was going to make me free. I had the idea that there was this oppression from police and government, etc. Police being policy, government creating the policies, and these enforce them. But it has a relationship metaphysically and physically. And you probably can't read this because it's too bright. Yeah. And it's the person and the persona, the legal fiction. And I can't even read that. The identity. Okay, so let's say metaphysically, energetically, non-physically, we have identity. That's called a persona. Physically, we have a legal entity, an idea, called a person. And this person is essentially a legal fiction, number, identity that allows us to engage in commerce, worldly activities, etc. When we identify as this person, which at any given moment we have the right to not identify unless we've committed a crime, not an act of parliament, So let's say a crime is harm, hurting somebody, injury, or loss, or defraud. So let's say you hurt somebody, you steal from them, or you damage their property. You should be answerable to a entity that's been created to create peace, because you shouldn't be hurting anybody. You shouldn't be stealing from anybody.
But this is living beings, not corporations.
And you shouldn't be creating any type of loss or defraud against anyone. Okay, so in understanding your person, you will become free from statutes and acts, because these are created within parliament. They paralyze to the mind, and you create a contract with your legal name. So if someone asks you what's your name and you haven't committed a crime, you do not have to give it. But if you give them your name, truly it means you are acting in the realm of the sea, commerce or business. So this is an important or slightly important thing to know if you're looking to become free from that aspect within the world. But truly knowing yourself, knowing that you are not this person, knowing that you're not this persona and you're being beyond the form, you get liberated from all of these ideas anyway.
But the energy that's around this is the most important part, because the teachings are here. So if we are in fear of the system, the government, the police, anything to do with legalities, we will have an experience to help to either enlighten us or drag us further into fear and anxiety. So we need to use our teachings as something to move on with. So if we do have run-ins with the police, or we have issues with government and laws, then there will be tests until you pass the test. It's flying colours, and your flying colours are your chakras and your aura. So what we put out into the universe, we will receive back in teachings and experience. So if we have no fear, and you drop the fear behind all of this, and you have no preconceived ideas or concepts built up, then none of the energy will come to you, because the energy just reciprocates. So once we let go of all of that, and we have no prison around us that we need to break free from, then our energy is free to flow.
Mm-hmm.
So, what you give out to the universe will come back to you. So hold no concepts around it.
Yeah, it usually comes from a certain type of energy, looking to become free, because they really have a disagreement with what is, let's say, the council tax, electricity bills, water bills, parking fines, this whole system that's sort of put in place to stop chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have people that are to the book, and they don't have any type of discernment within themselves, and you might be parked somewhere where there's no traffic and you get a ticket, and then you find anger. But this is the matrix. This is the people in the matrix. They're unconscious beings, and they do what they do. So it's about finding that relationship within yourself, or that mediation where you can let go of the stress and the anxiety and the fear of all these things.
It's absolutely needed, though. This system is absolutely needed for the beings that need it. And the ones that don't need it or don't rely on it, we can just come in and out as our will is there. So, whatever you need, most beings need the supermarket or some form of, we are consumers in a way, because we need food. Most of us can't grow everything that we need to on the lands that we have. So we need to come in and out and use a form of energy flow, which is the money, or the banking system, which is changing before our very eyes. We need that system to be in place for certain parts of, our daily rituals or our routines. So I give thanks always and gratitude always to everything that's, surrounding me and my energy, because I feel that it's 100% needed. And, the government do what they do, like Josh mentioned, to create a form of balance for the beings that need that. Whether you need it or not, there's a lot of beings that rely on this system. So, it's super important that we see it from all angles and that we become liberated from the fear of people being trapped, because it's not really
because you
that way.
feel not free. Like you're chained up to the ideas, and they pass 15 new laws a day, etc. But they're not real laws, they're statutes and acts. Statutes is to make you still, acts are obviously for persona. This is the person. They only exist for this legal fiction identity. It's like driving, for example. Dee River, it's the former river. The roads are made of cement. It's all to do with this admiralty aspect. But a driver, by definition, is somebody that's carrying livestock or human passengers, which is essentially like a taxi or somebody carrying livestock. So it was initially created as a necessary need for a license for business use. And then it was just integrated into the world. So it was a form of regulation on people's driving abilities, but the old laws haven't been changed as such, and the etymology and the terminology is still there. So we focus on that and say, I want to drive without a driving license. I don't want to have insurance. But people used to crash and they used to pay. But people, like we said, I think last time, people crash and insurance companies tell you not to be honest now, so they don't have to pay. And it goes 50-50.
But there's no balance there, because there's no honesty with that. So it's just a part of the system.
But this is all changing now. So everything that we're going through now is the expansion of consciousness being expressed divinely on this wonderful palette of painting colors of this wonderful spectrum. And this is all for us. It's evolution. So we have recognized the faults. We have recognized these things. It just takes time for this evolution to take place and to be able to see manifest within the world. So, what have I done here? So, yeah, like I spoke earlier, water, gas, electric, council tax, being a part of a council or the United Kingdom was that all of these things were paid for. And then there's two corporations set up, for example, in London City and the City of London. One's for you, one's against you. One pays for it, one scams you. And we become very, very agitated at this when we figure these things out. But the agitation is the suffering that we don't need. So awareness is what we need. And this is all shifting and changing. And there's people out there who are so focused on changing this as a part of the divine that these are all changing. So you can feel safe to sit back, to have this small understanding that you don't need to identify with your person. When someone asks you, you may find fear and you may do it automatically, but it's a process of learning and distilling the mind from reactivity as well. It's all a blessing. It's all a gift. And I just wish you, happy information, and try to find balance without suffering on that journey, because it's a big can of worms and it takes a long time to come to recognition with. Sebastian, what is really a melon belly? I don't know. It depends on how you interpret the terminology of melon belly, but I think sometimes when people consume melons, maybe with other food because it's a monofruit, or still have food digesting in the stomach, that it creates a bit of bloating, and it feels feels like a lot of pressure there. And he also says, what about testosterone? I've heard it's good to have it high, and also that it is acidic and it creates male pattern baldness. Well, the male pattern baldness is just kind of, you could say, genetic. It's the conversion from testosterone to DHT. But it is what it is. We have to come to this sort of acceptance and letting go, because holding on to something that you haven't got is only creating your own suffering. So it's a process of destroying men's egos.
We do promote when any being is in a form of discomfort or disease, we always recommend blood testing. Here in the UK, you can get it done for free. So you can test your testosterone levels, your hormone levels, and any thyroid function, liver, kidneys. So yeah, we can get all of that tested. So we go to get our blood work done fairly regular, once a year at least. And we do recommend it to all of our beautiful beings in our community because, knowing what's happening on the inside, we can put it right before it goes too far. With regards to, eating from the earth and whole foods, then there's only so much that the vitamins and minerals can, be taken up from the soil.
Commercial food is very different than
Yes.
garden food, and I'm sure those that have eaten from the garden can taste the difference. And
we had some lovely garden food today, didn't we, from my parents. They are having abundance at the moment, and it tastes so incredibly divine.
I picked some wonderful figs with little Lex last night. We picked from a wonderful bush tree,
and you can just taste the nutrients in it. So what we are experiencing in this day is that many beings are low in hormones, or their hormones are very unbalanced. And this is not just through food, it's stresses as well, like things that have been happening in the world, the news, the media that covers all of these news stories. There's a lot of fear and unbalance, and this is what we're trying to look at, a holistic approach to connecting the mind, body and soul, with mind, body and spirit, is that all of this hand in hand, without any fear or anxieties, depression. Our bodies are in harmony a lot better with regards to balancing the hormones. And when we speak of testosterone, we say women are out of balance with their hormones, and their mood swings are happening. They're having a huge midlife crisis because the hormones. And we can balance this just through, living in harmony with our truth. And this is
and
what
of course,
we promote.
real food, real living,
whole
foods.
Even if the vitamins and minerals are depleted, we're still getting that aspect of just one ingredient without all of those toxins on top. You look in the supermarket now at any packets, and you have a list this long, and you can't even read the ingredients because the words are just like so complicated that the body is trying to process that. So keeping those things out of your diet, you have an instant boost. Your testosterone will start to balance.
It's scientifically proven that plant-based beings, or you could say vegans, but you don't want to tie yourself in with somebody that eats processed vegan food, that testosterone levels are significantly higher. And this was in studies in the 90s. It's not really like a recent study, but it's there for people to see. And a prime example was myself, way over the spectrum. But also you have something called SHBG, which is sex hormone binding globulin, which tends to raise when you have higher testosterone to create a balance in free testosterone. Even the female has testosterone as quite a dominant hormone in the body, but we need it to have a natural balance here, and giving our body natural space from unnatural things, you'll find balance. It wasn't really about until people were having bad food. It was used as a performance enhancement and essentially to combat depression. I think testosterone was invented in the 30s to combat depression. It is it's a happy hormone, for example, that, if you do have low aspects of it, of course, feel free to go and get your blood tested. And I suggest plant-based whole foods first, or just even whole foods, to see if you can put balance to it before you partake in any type of bioidentical hormone replacement. But don't judge yourself for doing it, Let's have a look. We're nearly gone through the questions. I have very high testosterone, also very high vitamin D, but I heard testosterone creates male pattern baldness now. It's the conversion to DHT. It's a deeper element within inside of it. And if your father, or you have kind of the observable reality to see if your family have had boldness, and it's just something that you can't really focus on trying to combat it. You do have drugs that are created now for hair, like finasteride, I think it's called. But again, it messes with your hormones and it can cause a little bit of an imbalance with you. So I wouldn't, I would just accept that which is, and know that, you can look okay with a bald head.
You look beautiful.
A bit like a peanut, but you can look okay. It just is what it is. And if people don't like you for not having hair, then they're better out with your life.
Judgments, never a good thing.
You can shine it on a sunny day and use it to reflect sun onto your partner's undergrowth. The shade. I mean, how can we spiritually prepare ourselves for the dark times ahead? The forecasts for the future between this September and October to 2025 were very bleak. We need knowledge and divine protection to get us through this. I think it is the concepts that cause us suffering. I don't think this. I know this. And, having a group of people, you could say conspiratory mindsets or just deep researchers who look into the lines, that see that something may happen that causes imbalance. Let's say what we experienced a couple of years ago with the common flu magnified into something that it wasn't, and it caused mass hysteria and issues in the commercial space. That was difficult if people perceived it to be difficult and felt like they were without, but truly there was always enough for everyone. What it was people buying too much of something. I think it was toilet roll and things like this. We found ample fruits and veggies everywhere because nobody hoarded that.
There was like a mass panic, and we were kind of
toilet roll.
If you're out of the loop of the darkness and you don't shine your light on it, then it's always going to be that way. There's always going to be fear about something, and when that fear goes and we move on from that as a collective, then another one happens. So there's always going to be something there.
But does the fear help you? Does the fear or the anxiety or the anticipation of an event which isn't happening, does it serve you?
It takes you away from presence. That's what it does. And it makes you focus on that. And the more that you focus, the more you draw that energy in. And like we spoke of earlier with the reciprocation of energy, if we feel that there's dark times coming, then this was what happens to teach you, to give you that experience so that you can come out of that. So your experience will be of, suffering or darkness if you allow that fear to creep in, because nothing is happening at the moment, but we're anticipating and we have anxiety of something that's not even happening or happened. It's just a future event that may happen.
I trust in life. I trust creation, and I trust myself.
And that presence is super important to be, balanced and surrender all aspects of the thought.
What will be, will be, and I trust life more than I trust information. And I have faith that I will always be provided for. And I speak unto the universe every single day that I am happy, I am abundant, I prosper, and I wish this upon everyone. So this is all we see.
I will create as I speak, which is the magic term for abracadabra or abrahadabra. And this is, our spells that we're putting out into the universe. When we spell, this is our spells, our magic that we're creating. So, choose wisely what you believe.
Remember, you are the creator. You've watched or observed information of the world, and the world is there to create emotional instability. Now, no matter what's happening with ideas flowing around, global warming, financial collapse, inflation, drought, fires, famine, you're safe. You are safe. This is the projection and the illusion of concepts that can take you away from your experience. Don't forget how magical you are. Don't forget that your intention and attention create your space, your future, your now, your presence, or even your past. Let go of this illusion. The only thing I can suggest if you find it to struggle to do this is take the great work and the practices, but just stock up on some food, But I truly have faith that we will all continue to be provided for as life intends. It is so very abundant. Remember, half the world's food is thrown away.
40%. And we've got a local community that gives away the food that's really ripe. So here,
we get about 35 kilo of bananas
3 days
every week.
They have it's like a community get together where they give food from the supermarkets that's on the actual dates they can't sell it. They give it to the community, and we get all of our bananas for smoothies for free, all of the whole foods, because that's the only thing that goes out of date, because it's actually the only food that we should be consuming.
We don't get them, but there's like birthday cakes and things like that there, but it's incredible the
amount of fruit and vegetables that they give away, because it's just going to go to landfill otherwise. So get together with your communities and raise awareness of
Speak to your local supermarkets. If no one's taking the bad produce and it's going in the bin, now's the time, because the legislations have changed and it can be given away, but it can't be given to businesses. It can only be given to beings.
And what we did is that they give to the food banks first for the beings that are unable to pay for food, so they get given the food opportunity first, and then after the food banks it gets given to like a community support where anyone is welcome to come and take it. So I go down at least 2 times a week, and they're really grateful, because the bananas are hugely overproduced.
Oh my gosh.
So they're happy to let us take them rather than put them.
And they love it. They create a nice box to put Michelle in, the fruit lady, and everyone celebrates when she comes down taking the biggest amount of food away. And it's nice, wonderful. This is the world when you apply yourself.
And I really truly feel like Josh and I spoke these words, as we were coming back from Spain. We said, it would be wonderful if where we lived, all the supermarkets would just give away their food for free after they can't sell it, because why put it in landfill when they can give it to communities? And then
it just pops up.
6 months later, I find just down the road from where we are staying, it's manifested. So these words that we speak will create our world, and it is 100% tried and tested from our experience. And we would love you all beautiful beings to have that experience as well. So let's flip the fact that things might be happening
to you, and remember, it's always for you, and it always has been. Just let go of that little identity that's been created, that's focusing on compartmentalized information that's negative, and look at the positivity. I see all positivity. I am very much looking forward to the evolution and the expression of consciousness as we go through these ages, and I have no fear whatsoever, because what is meant for me is meant for me. And the love of life and the enjoyment that I find in each moment is just all that I need. Good question. Thank you. I think it's just been a pleasure to spend some time with you all. Thanks everyone for your energy and time with us. You're all beautiful and we love you so much. Someone said, do you believe, Godfrey, do you believe all animals were vegetarian before the sin of man? I don't believe really anything at all. I kind of see that the consciousness has evolved in such a way that it had an idea, and this idea was, on a certain level of destructive nature because it had a question, and there was animals that ate other animals in that process. And as we are progressing in understanding consciously and the evolution of experience, we see carnivores and meat-eating or meat-based animals are actually depleting in numbers. And we have zoos and things like this trying to preserve them, but naturally they are, leaving this space because there's no need for barbaricness. There's no need for harming others to sustain ourselves. So we're becoming imbalanced once again through this deeper understanding of how things should be. But maybe in the beginning there was animals that weren't created because there was no sin, and of course the sin creates the questions, what if? And that what if needs to be answered, and it is answered through the expression of form. And that's what makes things so special, and why the universe is expanding, and the universe is the consciousness and all things created within it. The universe isn't stars and galaxies. These are concepts to put you in a different ideology than what is true. Does anyone have any pressing questions before we go? There was one I seen. Quake 3. Hello again, brother. Even in the Hindu philosophy, we read that the lion was lying next to the sheep.